Mr. President.
Senator from Iowa.
Mr. President, I rise today to urge Senate Democratic leadership to end their reckless government shutdown. It's no secret that over the years, I've made clear that I don't like funding our government from one short-sighted Band-Aid bill to another. We must establish a path forward to responsibly fund our government for the long term. It's a responsible and right thing to do for our military, for future generations, for our veterans, and for the American people. But rather than finding a long-term funding solution to ensure stability in our military, the Senate Democratic leadership has decided to shut down the government. So what does that mean for our military? Well, for starters, critical defense projects have come to a halt. We can also see delays in maintenance of our critical aircraft, ships, our weapon systems, at a time when our adversaries are becoming more aggressive and more advanced. And our service members, who put their lives on the line every day for our country, don't know when they will receive a paycheck. I have an advisor right now that is deployed to the Middle East. I received an email from him this morning, and he said it's really hard for all of us here knowing that our government is shut down. But he said, every day it's the same for us here in Afghanistan. We will do what we need to do. God bless him for that. Iowa National Guardsmen are deployed overseas right now. One of my former units, the 248th Aviation Support Battalion, is spread out through the Middle East, doing their mission while we struggle to find a way forward for them here in Washington, D.C. Military schools have been canceled. I spoke to an active duty Army officer this morning. She was scheduled for her pre-command course this weekend, and her orders were canceled. She told me, I will not be able to go to that pre-command course before I deploy. She will head overseas not having had a vital course to instruct her on leadership in the military. The likelihood of her picking up that course again in the future, near zero, near zero. Additionally, having served as a battalion commander in the Iowa Army National Guard during our last government shutdown, I can tell you that these shutdowns have a significant impact on our National Guardsmen. A shutdown prohibits our citizen soldiers from participating in drill and training exercises essential to our military readiness. Our public affairs officer sent out this notice this morning from the Iowa National Guard. The headline, Iowa National Guard feels effect of federal government shutdown. More than 900 full-time federal technicians furloughed. That's in Iowa alone. Approximately 400 personnel sent home from weekend training. That's just Iowa. 110,000 National Guardmen were affected over this last weekend because of the shutdown. Now, should these men and women be called to defend our nation in the face of danger, it is critical that they are properly prepared, and a government shutdown does not allow this. During the time that the government shutdown goes on, we're not able to maintain our equipment. That hurts our readiness. our personnel can't do their wellness and medical checks. That hurts our readiness. Our military members can't get to their schools for advancement in their careers. That hurts our readiness. And once those orders to schools have been canceled, you can't just pick up on Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday and say, okay, I'm going to school now. There are only so many slots allocated. And if you miss that training period, you may be waiting months, perhaps even a year in the National Guard to pick up those schools. During a shutdown, our folks are furloughed. Depending on how long the government is shut down, our citizen soldiers might not receive enough training days to be adequately prepared for duty. This could also mean that their time serving throughout the year might not be included in their total years of service, potentially further jeopardizing their benefits and pay. What a lot of folks here that haven't served in the military, the reserves or the Guard or active duty, what they don't understand. In the reserves and Guard, you have to meet so many points in a year for that to be considered a good retirement year. If you fall a few days short of that, the entire year does not count towards your retirement. The entire year does not count towards your retirement. Despite their rhetoric otherwise, Senate Democrats are turning their back on our men and women in uniform by putting our military's resources and readiness in jeopardy. It is inexcusable. Additionally, the legislation the Senate voted on Friday night would have reauthorized the Children's Health Insurance Program for 6 years. 6 years, providing approximately 80,000 Iowa children with access to important health care services, especially in the rural and underserved areas. Unfortunately, Senate Democratic leadership is playing political games and opposed our efforts to ensure this critical funding is in place for children in Iowa and across the country. Instead, the Senate Democratic leadership shutdown hurts Iowa's low-income children, puts rural and underserved areas at a major disadvantage, and disrupts states' abilities to ensure sound financial planning for their health care programs. Folks, the reality is this shutdown happened because Democratic leadership didn't get everything they wanted in this funding bill. They didn't get everything they wanted. As a result, they decided to hold hostage our military's readiness, our children's health care, and our government. You see, the Senate Democrats who chose to play politics also set arbitrary deadlines regarding deferred action for childhood arrivals, also known as DACA. I too want to ensure that Congress finds a solution for DACA recipients. We have many, many recipients in Iowa. Many of my colleagues want to see resolution on this as well. America is a nation of immigrants, and our diversity truly is our strength. It's incredibly important that we find a fix for DACA recipients, as they are so important to the fabric of our communities and to our future. Many young undocumented children were brought here truly through no fault of their own. Congress has been and must continue to work together to identify and pursue a measured approach that addresses DACA recipients' unique situation and also respects the importance of our immigration laws, keeps our borders secure, and discourages future illegal immigration. There is still time to achieve a solution. There's still time. But holding the government hostage and stalling important discussions on DACA really is nonsensical. Some of my Democratic colleagues are starting to show a willingness to work through these issues and reopen the government. And I'm asking them to vote yes for funding our government so that we can move ahead. But the decision to remain shut down lies solely with the Democratic leadership here in the Senate. So today I'm calling on Senate Democratic leaders to put their reckless games aside and start working with us on a path forward to fund the government, ensure low-income children have access to health care, provide the resources our military needs, and find a solution for our DACA recipients. I'm asking my Senate colleagues, those that I have spoken with, both sides of the aisle, to join us in a yes vote today at noon or shortly thereafter so that we can find solutions. With that, Mr. President, I thank you and I yield the floor.